Aisha, can you
Sorry
confirm
about
that?
that. My bad. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good, good. Thank you very much. So, just like I said, well, welcome once again. So, thank you for joining, from wherever you're joining, the country you're joining from. Thank you for joining. And we'll just give an additional maybe like 2 to 3 minutes to have some more participants join. I understand some persons are in the waiting room. So we just try to admit them before we start, and we just do that in like 2, 3 minutes. Then we fully kickstart the session. In the meantime, my name is Abednego Ishaya Wekili, and I have the privilege to be anchoring this session on behalf of Ofonono for today. And while we wait for more participants to join as they have been admitted, do me a favor of just for the students who are on the call, I would like that you please kindly rename your device for our students who are on the call. Rename your device to have your name and then to also have your chapter. So if your name is Abednego, in my case, and then let's say you are from Nile University, or rather I'm from Nile University, what I will do is I'll rename my device to be Abednego, then Nile University. You can decide to put a hyphen or an underscore to separate your name and your chapter name as well. So just quickly do that while we wait for more members to join. And also do me a favor of just going to the chat box and just do an introduction of yourself, um, your name and where you're joining us from. Yeah, your name and where you're joining us from, just so we could get to know the people we have on the call. Okay, I'll be looking forward to see our introductions for those of us already on the call. Remember your name and where you're joining from. Then for our students, also remember to rename your device. We will be starting this in the next 1 minute. Yeah, in like 1 minute, yeah, we'll be able to start. Okay, distinguished guests, students who are on the call, young professionals, senior members, chapter section executives who are already on the call as well. Once again, thank you all for joining, and I think we are at a good place to have a start for the session. Okay, so just like I mentioned earlier, my name is Abednego Ifeawekile, and I'm privileged to be your host and to be anchoring the session today. So we'll just start with a brief introduction of what we are having for today. So you are currently in the Student Affairs series put up by the SP Abuja section. The student series is brought to you by the Students Committee of the section, and it's themed the OPEC and the Global Oil Outlook 2025, Unlocking Opportunities for Emerging Leaders. As mentioned earlier, is an event brought to you by the SP Abuja section. Okay, so um, we'll go to our focus for the next session. Just a moment to get some things up from my end. Okay, now the Student Affairs series is meant to bring speakers from the OPEC organization to discuss on the theme that I just mentioned, OPEC and the Global Oil Outlook 2025, unlocking opportunities for emerging leaders. And we are privileged to have distinguished speakers from OPEC who are joining us to give that presentation. Now, just to give a brief order of the event and how the flow is going to be for today before I make welcome our section executives. as well as the guest. So we're going to be starting with the arrival of the participants. Then we'll have a safety brief. So we are done with that of the arrival. I'll be taking the safety brief immediately after now. Then we go to the introduction and recognition of our guests, to the welcome by the section chair himself, who I already see is on the call. Then we take the first session and the second session by our speakers. Then we go to the remark by our program's chair, and then to the vote of thanks. Then we have some networking. So I'll just try to hurry up a bit so we can meet up with time. So for the safety brief, first, what you need to note here is you need to keep your mic muted when you are not speaking. And if you need to speak, please do well to raise up your hands to speak, and you'll be granted the chance to speak when called upon. Then do well to utilize the chat button for either comments or questions, and we'll do well to also attend to them. And in case you're using a headset, please do well to ensure that the fire alarm at your location or at wherever you are is closer to how you'll be able to hear it when in case it rings. And then try to ensure that you are alert and aware of your environment. Then always stay safe, please. Always stay safe. Now, to the introduction and recognition of our guests, we'll start with our very own section chair in person of Dr. Ikechukwu Okafor, who is already on the call. Do well to give some virtual claps. We also have other section executives who are on the call who, as we go on, I'll be able to introduce them once they are able to come up to speak. Okay, so I'll just hurry up to the welcome address by the section chair. He will be taking that, and please do me a favor of just giving your virtual claps. Do well to raise bar as our section chair in person of Dr. Ikechukwu Okafor comes up for the welcome address. Dr. Ikechukwu, sir, the floor is yours.
Please, can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you, sir, loud and clear.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you.
we can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, I had to jump into an emergency meeting at the office, and fortunately, I had gotten done with that, and I need to jump into this. So first of all, thank you to everyone who had put this epoch-making event together. A very big thank you to the Student Affairs Committee, especially the Student Affairs chairs. She had kept me abreast of this from the beginning up until this time, and it's something that is quite huge, having these wonderful speakers from the OPEC join us today. To see how we can keep the flag flying, the SPE flag of continuous dissemination of technical knowledge. So on behalf of SPE Abuja section and the board, I want to welcome everyone here, the students, the professionals, and our speakers. We want to say a very warm welcome to you, and it's in our character in SP Abuja to make events like this a memorable one. Stay in this program, listen to your words of professional knowledge, and also participate actively through the event. We're looking forward to having an enriching session where both students, professionals, and everyone on the call would be richly enriched via your knowledge sharing. So it's a pleasure to have every one of you here. And from us, we say thank you, and we wish us to have an amazing event. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, section chair. I appreciate that. Please do well to give your claps. Yeah, do well to give your claps. It's a privilege to have our section chair join the session. Okay, so quickly, I'll just make some brief introductions before we go over to the next item. So first off, the Student Affairs series is brought to you by the Student Affairs Committee of the Abuja section, just like I mentioned, and we are privileged to have the Student Affairs Chair present on the call, and she goes by the name Aisha Tukudige. Please, madam, do you mind if you just say hello before we introduce our guests?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you very much, Aisha. Okay, so we go next now to the synopsis of the program before I introduce our speakers. So I'll just quickly rush through this and we see how we can catch up. Now, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, released its World Oil Outlook in 2025 in Vienna, presenting a clear picture of how energy will shape our world over the next 25 years. According to the report, oil remains a central player in global energy. Demand is expected to rise to about 111.6 million barrels per day by 2029 and could reach 123 million barrels per day by 2050. Now, this outlook emphasizes that oil will not disappear anytime soon, even with the growth of electric vehicles and renewable energy. Now, to make this possible, OPEC highlights the need for massive investment, uh, guessing around an $18.2 trillion in oil production, refining infrastructure, and cleaner technologies. Now, this creates enormous opportunities for young people. And these young people are made up of both young professionals in the industry and even students who are also going to be transitioning to the industry. Students, entrepreneurs, and early career professionals. And they can play roles in developing innovative solutions for cleaner oil, building renewable energy systems, alongside oil, designing smart policies and creating financial tools to fund energy projects. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests, this now brings us to the theme OPEC and the Global Oil Outlook for 2025, how this is unlocking opportunities for emerging leaders. Now, our first speaker, who I'll be bringing up to speak to us, goes by the name Ms. Hind Zaha. She is a senior PR specialist, public relations and information department of the OPEC organization. Please do me a favor to give a clap, even as she comes up for her session. Ms. Hind, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wakili. I would like to start by thanking Ms. Aisha for organizing this online briefing. It's a privilege to deliver the presentation today on behalf of the organization. My colleague, Dr. Muhammad Al-Kazimi, he's the Chief Upstream Oil Industry Analyst in the Energy Studies Department, will be going straight to the presentation for the sake of time. So I will skip my presentation because we're running out of time and hand over to him. And then you will have Q&A session with him after the presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hind. So just like you mentioned, just taking off from where you just mentioned, we'll be having Dr. Muhammad Al-Kazimi, who is the Chief Upstream Oil Industry Analyst, Energy Studies Department of OPEC, go first before we get back to Ms. Hind. So, Dr. Mohammed, the floor is yours. You're welcome. Please let's do well to give a virtual welcome to him.
Well, thank you so much for the kind introduction. And I'd like to extend our gratitude for the invitation to be part of SPE's Abuja section, where we reach out to professionals, young professionals, students, and different members of Society of Petroleum Engineers to understand the energy landscape. And more specifically, we look into the projection as we develop it here at the OPEC Secretariat, where we look into different aspects of the energy landscape. So if I may share the slides for our presentation, or if you can see it.
Yes, I can see your slide from my end.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for this presentation, we will be looking at the World Oil Outlook, and I need to go back. My apologies. Awesome. Thank you. For some reason, I'm trying to That will, I don't want to have. So my apologies for this technical glitch. However, to commence the presentation, we will be looking at the World Oil Outlook, which is one of the flagship publications for the OPEC Secretariat. In addition to the monthly oil outlook, where we publish it by the Petroleum Studies Department, looking into the short term, and the annual statistical bulletin, also one of the flagship publications. We look into this publication as a reference for academia, decision makers, policy makers, researchers, everybody involved within the energy sector, and especially the oil sector, to have a glimpse of how the OPEC Secretariat project the energy landscape. So, in order for us to develop the our projection, we underline different key assumptions where we see the uncertainties of the economic and geopolitical landscape, and we take into consideration the pushback that we are noticing from different oil, especially oil importing countries, when it comes to U-turns and shifting goals, even when it comes to the NDCs for their compared to the Paris Agreement, their announcements and how they are catering for that. Also, we consider the global population rise from 8.2 to 9.7 billion between now and 2025, and the urbanization rate rising to 68% from its current 58%, where urbanization reflects an access to energy and the need, a rising need for energy. Also, we consider the global economy as we see it doubling in size, and that with an average of almost 3% per annum. Also, we take into note the development of technology, per se, the data center and artificial intelligence, and its high rising demand for energy. So we take into consideration these kinds of assumptions. So we take into the expected rise in demand. We see it rising by almost 23% between now and 2025, though the share of fossil fuel is dropping from 35% or 31% to almost 30%, especially for oil. But still, oil maintains its high share of energy or high share of energy within the energy mix, and it's considered to be the largest. And we're talking almost 44% of the global energy mix, and we expect it to see rising by the non-OECD as they are driving the global energy demand. When we look at the primary energy, we see that primary energy is also rising for electricity, though the as I mentioned earlier, the urbanization, the rise in urbanization and the expansion of the middle class, reflecting the economy's growth and industrialization, is reflected as a high rise in electricity generation. But we see the share of renewables dictating more in the future, yet except for oil, where it's going to be seeing a slight decline, and the most decline will be seeing it with coal, especially when we see the commitment to the environmental matters with phasing out coal, and replacing it with natural gas and renewables within the energy, within the electricity generation sector. When we look at the global oil demand, we see it, or we project it to be growing over the long term, reaching almost 123 million barrels per day. That growth is driven by non-OECD that will offset the decline in the OECD as they are trying to phase out the usage of oil and the utilizations of efficiency, especially when it comes to technology development. The largest incremental demand, we see it coming from India, other Asia, Middle East, and Africa. When we talk at demand per sector, we see that road transportation remains the largest for oil demand, followed by petrochemical and the aviation sector, especially after the COVID recovery and the opening of the borders or the skies for different airlines. The aviation sector is recovering at a healthy pace, and the demand is expected to rise by almost 4.2 million barrels per day. Except for the electricity generation, we see that the demand will be declining between 1 to 2 million barrels per day, and that's for the oil. And it is for electricity generation, it is expected to decline by 0.5 million barrels per day between now and 2050. When we talk about the energy landscape or the oil supply comes into mind as to balance the equation with the demand, and we see it that non-DOC, or what the media is calling OPEC Plus, will have a steady growth over the long term, and that is driven by the tight oil boom in the United States, the offshore operations within Brazil, Qatar, Canada, among others. We project as OPEC that within the early 2030s that the tier 1, especially and tier 2 in US tight oil will be depleting, resulting in a decline or a plateau to under 60 million barrels per day before starting to decline. And that decline is replaced by DOC liquid supply, which raises the barrels from current 49.1 million barrels per day to almost to nearly or more than 64 million barrels per day, rising the share of OPEC supply or OPEC plus supply from 48% currently to a projected 52%. When we talk about long-term capacity, the additions are needed with the rising demand is almost 20 million barrels per day between now and 2050. Most of it in crude and condensate and supplied by Middle East region, whereas Asia Pacific remains the most important destination to take on those barrels. When we talk about the rising demand, and in order to maintain current and meet future demand, investments is a key word which we always emphasize on in different forums and meetings with different constituents, where we see that more than $18 trillion are required in investments between now and 2050. And over the long-term projection, the upstream sector, which consists of exploration and production, take the lion's share of these investments for almost $15 trillion, followed by the downstream and the midstream sector. We always take into consideration a what-if scenario. So when we always look into if technology has driven the demand. How will that shape the future of the oil demand? So, and we see that by 2035, it will be reaching 113 million barrels per day, which is, you can see it then shifting down to almost 106 million barrels per day. And that's almost 17 million barrels per day compared to the reference case, which we are projecting for the long term. However, the scenario is different, or the projection is completely the opposite, where we see oil demand is rising above the reference case if we have an equitable growth scenario without the interference of governments or any other narratives imposed on different countries to utilize their natural resources. We see the demand will be growing from 120 by 2035 to nearly 130 million barrels per day. And that's a rise in almost 6.3 to 6.5 million barrels of per day compared to the reference case. And that concludes my presentation for the world oil outlook with the key takeaway messages. And the World Oil Outlook interactive version is available on different platforms. We encourage you as students and professionals to download this app and take advantage of the data available, build your own scenarios, even reach out to the analysts at the OPEC Secretariat to answer any question you have. And that concludes my presentation, and back to you in Abuja.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I was speaking. I thought I'd unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Please, can we give a clap for our speaker, Dr. Mohammed, for that wonderful session? I mean, I was just taking notes. The part that got me really interested was a part of the whole smart book where I am able to interact and even reach out to an analyst from OPEC and get feedback. That's really interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed, for
My pleasure.
the
Thank you so much
insights.
for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for some of the insights. I think while he was speaking, some of the things that I noted particularly is the part where he said noticeable trend in policy pushback is seen and is intensified, and an intensified scrutiny of major goals is apparent. Then the part where he also mentioned about investment being a key role, or playing a key role, and being a necessity in the path where we are actually looking at getting to, is actually also a requirement for us to get to that outlook that we are all pushing towards. Thank you very much once again. And I would just like to check if we have some chats, some questions rather.
Yes, please.
Okay. So are you able to take the questions now, or do you want us to get done before we attend to the questions?
I suggest if you allow me to take the questions now, so it's fresh in the people's mind.
Okay. So we just check through. Please, if you have questions, do well to drop it on the chat group. So I'll just scout through to see if we have any questions. So, okay, I see a question from. So we can only take 2 questions for this particular session. In the next session where Ms. Hind will be taking, we'll take other 2 questions as well. So for these 2 questions, okay, maybe 3, because I see my student affairs chair has a question. So the first question I see here, Dr. Mohammed, is what's the role of OPEC in national development? And again, what is the role of OPEC in upstream, midstream, and downstream sector? This is a question from Abdul Hasib Hashim from SPATBU. Do you want me to take the question again?
Yes. When you consider OPEC, think of it as a fish tank, a research institute for member countries to share their insights with representatives of member countries. At the same time, we host different programs offered to nationals from the member countries under the umbrella of the OPEC Academy, where we build capacity of the nationals and reflect onto that experiment or experience as they go back to start their either as if they are freshly graduates or if they are professionals coming here as a secondment or research program. So when it comes to different sectors of the oil industry, each department has multiple roles when it comes to upstream, downstream, midstream, environment, you name it. So we advise, perform some studies for member countries where they meet what we call the Economic Commission Board, where national representatives and their delegation come to the Secretariat headquarters to discuss some topics addressed in these studies and challenge the analysts in order to stimulate the thinking and ensure that the messages are conveyed to their governments, and based on that, decisions are made. So in short, OPEC is more of a think tank where we bridge the gap between industry and member countries. One of the events that we will be hosting will be the technology workshop, where we will be hosting different companies, international energy companies, to the OPEC Secretariat, along with different technology companies, mainly like entrepreneurs, and to share new trends within the industry and build a network for future opportunities or business opportunities for them to be available, or at least capitalize on these new trends.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mawar, for
Sure.
that response. So the second question, just a quick one. Second question is, okay, someone has already asked. So the second question is, why will the oil demand decline by 2050? Just to add another statement to that, so OPEC has a quota for member countries. What penalties does the organization impose on defaulters? So two questions in one. Why will the oil demand decline by 2050? And the fact that OPEC has a quota for member countries, what penalties exist or is imposed for defaulters of these quotas? Yeah.
If we go to the presentation, you will see that oil demand will be plateauing, then declining, and that decline is due to it's not only OPEC, it will be globally that the decline will be witnessed, especially when we see that coming from non-OPEC countries, that will be more because of the technology advancements, efficiency. So whatever been using or consuming a double will be dropped to half. So it's not that people don't want oil. Oil was created to stay, but it's a matter of efficiency taking more role into the future demand, and also mainly that's how we see it in the future, and that's the projection that we are seeing. It's not that oil will be declining per se, but it will be slightly dropping due to the efficiency. But for the second part of the questions, I really do not have an answer for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you. I think one key thing that I heard you mention about the decline by 2050 is around the efficiency. which I believe is a keynote for students and also young professionals to also think around, okay, how can we make this oil and gas or energy even more efficient that we can still stay in business, most likely. Okay, thank you very much. And
Sure thing.
I think, yeah, thank you very much. So we just we keep tabs, and then please just to mention this so that you keep in mind, you can do well to reach out to our speakers on LinkedIn. I will mention this after the second session too. So going further to our next speaker is a senior PR specialist, public relations and information department from OPEC as well. And she goes by the name Ms. Hind Zaha. Ms. Hind, you're welcome to take your seat.
Miss, my apologies, but Miss Hind had to step up for an urgent meeting for that. So I apologize for that, Mr. Wakili.
Okay, okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so while we wait on that, are we allowed to take maybe an additional question?
Oh, please.
Okay. Okay, so students, please, students and young professionals and senior members that are on the call, please do well to just drop your questions, and Dr. Muhammad will do well to help attend to them. Yeah, I'll just keep an eye on the chat. Yeah, in the meantime, for those who might not be having questions, do well to also drop your key takeaways on the chat space, and I'll just be reading them out while we hope towards Ms. Zint. Okay. Okay, I see our section chair, Dr. Ikechukwu, has his hands up. So you can go on, please.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad. Nice presentation. Well received from here. Regarding your concern around the drop in oil by 2050, did you also take into consideration the developing countries and the need to develop upon the exploitation and exploration of oil and gas? I mean, in Africa, we are having more countries have this black gold, as it's called.
Yes.
Are you saying the need for their development would not cascade into improved production requests or improved need for the use of oil compared to maybe the other alternative energy sources, especially when you look at cost, the cost of developing this newer technology and the scalability of the newer technology for relatively not very rich developing countries?
Let me clarify something. When we talked about the decline in the supply of oil or the decline in demand, it's not a decline in demand, but we're talking about a decline in supply, especially from the US and non-OPEC countries, and that's because of the depletion of the especially tier one for the US, since it has the shale or the tight oil. And these are highly productive, but we are seeing them declining for tier one, tier two, and the extraction for tier three. It's costly, and that's why US producers are not willing to jeopardize their investments into non-feasible fields. But for demand, we're only projecting to 2050, and we see it rising. Beyond that, it's too soon for us to say, yes, it will be declining or not. But we see that if you look at the scenarios, you notice that there are two scenarios where with the technology development, it's the efficiency gains that we're seeing within the different sectors, for example, even EVs, that will displace some of the oil in the future. Back to your question, dear sir, when it comes to natural resources, when you see Africa, the continent in general, you will notice that there are financial challenges in order to develop these natural resources. And financial institutes with their ESGs are not financing any fossil fuel projects, which there is an abundance in Africa, but rather forcing a narrative of developing renewables, which cost more than triple the cost of developing a natural oil field, especially in Africa. So there are some, you look at the policies within the continent, different countries are trying to collaborate as groups to develop different fields or even build infrastructure. That's something that's we're seeing, and that's also will be contributing to the rise of demand. And also, especially when Africa is expected to lead the global population growth in the future, according to the United Nations, that Africa will be the continent which most of the population growth will be harnessed in. So demand also will be shifting into Africa, especially with the economic growth, the rise in the medium middle class population, and the urbanization, the expanding growth in urbanization. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. I also like the fact that you recognize the investment challenges that are peculiar to the African continent, vis-a-vis the need for financial institutions, the maybe refusal or slow pace of supporting investment into fossil fuel. However, on the other side of it, Africa is also looking at collaboration strongly. You mentioned that, and I want to agree with you. We're looking at collaboration even to the extent of joint development of infrastructure, and also the coming on stream of the African Energy Bank.
Yes.
Is to be headquartered in Nigeria. That's
yes.
Very positive step in the right direction, because I mean, like you said, the alternative energy source, the investment for it triples that the fossil fuel in terms of cost of production. But yet, ESG is coming on board and it's causing some little change. But our strength will be in our collaboration and being able to finance the development of our fields, because we have this oil underground. It is relatively cheaper to produce, and we have a growing population that will be needing energy. So we need to capture energy availability, energy affordability, and energy accessibility will become the watchword for Africa. So thank you, and then that was a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. And also add to that, Mr. Wakili, with the Africa Energy Bank, it is a step in the right direction for intergovernmental collaboration to harness the natural resources of the continent. Even if you look at, when we talk about policies, the United States now is a very good, a textbook example of a U-turn, where we saw the current administration focusing more on the energy security and even withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, which the President Trump looks at it as a stick in the wheel for the development of the natural resources of the country. Not to mention that some of the canceled projects, wind mills or wind farm offshore or even in the federal lands. So we see a shift, a recalibration into the energy sector. If I may also, I think a question caught my attention from Ms. Aisha. She asked about joining OPEC for an opportunity to capitalize on these programs. If I captured it correctly.
Okay, Aisha, you are free to speak
Yeah,
to that.
Aisha.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Miss Aisha, I think you can unmute.
Young
Just
leaders.
So if I understand the question correctly, OPEC has different programs under the OPEC Academy, whether it's the secondment program where we host professionals between a month to 6 months period, or the research fellowship program, which is a 2 months, or the summer internship program. And these programs are offered, if you look at the OPEC website, opec.org, and you go to the programs, you will see that we have these different capacity building programs for our member country nationals. And we welcome different applicants through the national representatives, where each applicant reach out to the secretariat through the national representative of their country, who will nominate him or her to one of the programs that we offer usually during the year. So I strongly encourage you to look into the programs offered by OPEC and try to capitalize on these opportunities, since we are aiming to building capacity. And you never know, you might be the next person sitting in my place given that presentation.
all right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. I think this response covers for one of the questions on the chat space, which is how can a young professional get a chance to work with OPEC?
Yes.
I think you've already addressed that. So we'll just take one more question before I get back to Aisha. Aisha, just keep holding your hands up a bit before I get back to you. Don't be tired. I'll get back to you. Okay, so the last question I see on the chat space before we get back to Aisha is, what measures have OPEC put in place to ensure that oil and gas exploration is done in a sustainable way, at the same time meeting the growing global demand? This is a question from Suleiman Delusle.
That's a very interesting question. If you look at the Declaration of Cooperation, or what the media calls it, OPEC Plus, you see that OPEC member countries collaborated with different major exporters to ensure that oil remains a global commodity and not being wasted. With that being said, you saw how for example, the Africa Energy Bank, that's more of a intergovernmental collaboration between countries in Africa. Investment between different OPEC member countries, for example, UAE or United Arab Emirates investing in different countries in the continent, either with exploration leases or infrastructure. Similarly, with different Algeria and Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and other countries are collaborating internally to finance different projects or exchange expertise in order to develop resources. So these are some of the initiatives, and of many initiatives. OPEC member countries are collaborating together. And if you see the U-turns are a good example of how the world realized that the messages that we've been conveying previously have shown that, yes, they are valid. Even the Congress sent a very harsh letter to the IEA, asking them to stay away from politicizing the sector and focus on the interests of the nations rather than following a specific narrative where we all, His Excellency the Secretary General, even during our OPEC seminar that we hosted in July, emphasized that there is not only it's not only a transition, but transitions. So it's different countries have different pathways to ensure their national energy sovereignty, security, and prosperity. So I think the world is realizing that one size does not fit all, but rather it should be a more collaborative effort, inclusion of all energies.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed. I think we'll just take the last question, which is getting me back to Aisha now. So Aisha, let's hear from you.
Thank you so much, Wakili. Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed, for this wonderful
Most
session.
welcome.
I'm learning a lot. So regarding the OPEC quota, I actually work as an energy analyst. So I had discovered that Kazakhstan and Iraq have exceeded the quota. So that was why I asked the question, is there any penalty or how does OPEC, deal with situations like that?
I really do not have an answer to that question. That's beyond my knowledge, to be honest. It's all addressed at the ministerial level. So really, we are not involved into any of decisions or anything. We're just technical experts that provide our technical expertise and analysis. The decisions are made over the ministerial meetings. That's my answer to that, to be honest.
Thank you so much for that response.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
And if I may, just to conclude that it's really good to see young professionals, students at the Society of Petroleum Engineers getting involved at different platforms to capitalize on the knowledge offered by different organizations. And that really helps in building capacities, knowledge sharing and dissemination, and also ensuring that messages are conveyed. You will be one day a decision maker, a researcher, an economist, you name it. As an energy stakeholder, you will have a voice, and listening to all voices helps you in coming up with more logical decision making rather than being emotional.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed. That was your final words was all of it for me. Thank you so much. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed all of the insights you shared in the course of the session, your answers to the questions. I mean, I'm particularly also looking forward to looking up the OPEC website and see how we go around that. So, okay, thank you very much. And
Thank you
just
so
to
much. And
continue,
we look forward to welcoming you here at the OPEC Secretariat in Vienna.
sure. I look forward to working with you too personally,
Thank
and I'm
you
sure
so
the
much.
other students and young professionals on the call are also looking forward to that. Okay, so starting off or rather to continue from where Dr. Mohammed just gave his final words, you are encouraged to join SP. I understand this is a mixed call, so I'm assuming we might have people who are not registered members of SP. If you are a student, you can register. If you're a professional in the industry, whether young professional or a senior professional, you can also register with the SP. It's an organization for everyone, provided you have a contribution to make in the oil and gas industry or at large in the energy industry. When you hear SP, it's a call for people who are driving solutions in energy. Okay, now you are some of the member benefits you get as a professional. You have discounted event registration fees. For those of us in Nigeria, like the NIEs, yeah, you have special pricing on books and subscription. You have discount on SPA papers on One Petrol and so forth. And for those who are to be registering for student membership, you are eligible to apply. If you're a student member, you can apply for the student member SPA scholarship, the discount on textbooks and reference books as well for your research. And you can also compete in paper contests. Myself, I've done that while I was still in school. I know I've done that sometime in the African paper contest. You also stand a chance to gain career advice from a mentor. I mean, I have so many of them. Some of them are even on the call right away. Okay, I have enjoyed some of that. And just before I call on our Student Affairs Chair for her vote of thanks and remarks, just to remind you to renew your SPA membership. We're in that period of the year where renewal gets started. So do well to renew your membership before 1st of January 2026. Okay, and if you're a new member, the registration fee is 86,500 in Naira. And for those who are existing members and want to renew, your fee is 69,500. And in case you delay renewing by 1st of January, you might have to pay a fee of 17,000 Naira as a reinstatement fee. For you students who are on the call, just a peck to remind you that your membership, you stand a chance to enjoy free membership because someone somewhere is paying for you. So please latch on that opportunity and utilize that for your professional growth as well. For every of the membership information, you might want to reach out to our membership chair at the Abuja section in person of Engineer Ogenerume, Dr. Engineer Ogenerume Ogolo. You can see his number. You can quickly have a snapshot of that and just keep it somewhere, or you can take your tabs and just have it up there. Okay, then to make payments for your registration, either new membership or renewal, you can just take notes of these account details, but most preferably reach out to the membership chair whose number you can still see on your screen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, senior members, distinguished guests, it's been a great honor to really anchor this on behalf of the SPA Abuja Section Students Committee. And please do well to send us your enquiries in case you want to engage SPA Abuja in any enquiries. You can send an email to spaabuja-section@gmail.com. And in case you also want to find out about other of our programs, please do stay in touch with the SPA Abuja section via our official handles on our social media handles. We are on LinkedIn as SPA Abuja section, on Facebook, SPA Abuja section 199, on YouTube as well, and on Instagram, SPA Abuja 199. Do well to stay in touch. I see we have the programs chair too on the call. Okay, just before I call the programs chair for her remark, before getting to the student affairs chair, I'll just give the floor to the section chair, Dr. Ikechukwusa.
Okay, I wanted you or maybe the student affairs chair to make mention of the next student program that is coming up, which is the PVT training for students. I think Aisha would want to give maybe heads up on that so that the students on the call can get prepared for it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I am sure she'll cover for that once we get to that point. I'm much sure of that. And please do it to stay on the call. We'll be having snapshot immediately after the remarks. So since we have the programs chair on the call, please, it will be an honor to call on you, man, Dr. Yetunde, for your remarks. The floor is yours, man.
Okay, thank you very much. My sincere apologies that I was not able to join the program at the beginning. I would like to use this opportunity to thank everyone that stayed on the call. I would like to thank our speakers for sharing their thoughts in this area of discourse. I'd also like to appreciate all those that worked at the back end to make sure that this program comes to fruition. God bless you all and do have a pleasant day. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. Student Affairs Chair, Ms. Aisha, over to you. for your remarks.
Thank you very much, Wakili, for that. I would like to thank our speakers, Dr. Muhammad Al-Kazimi, for that wonderful, wonderful session. I learned a lot. And I would like to thank the Secretary for his presence as well and for his support. It's something that I have to just thank him, because whenever I have an idea or I just have thoughts and I just reach out to him and I'm like, oh, what do you think, sir? Should we go with this? Should we go with that? He has always been encouraging, he gives me his insights and then he helps me wherever like I need help delivering these ideas and lectures to the students. So I would like to thank him personally for that. So thank you so much everyone for joining. So our next session will be on the 11th to 12th September 2025. It will be a 2-day lecture. The theme is Fundamentals of PVT Analysis, Key Concepts and Applications in Reservoir Engineering. So it will be very interesting, and our speakers will be from Cypher Crescent Limited. So do well to join us, please. Thank you so much for this.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Aisha, for those words. Okay, so everyone on the call, please do well to just turn your camera on, and we'll just have a snapshot together with our section officers who are on the call and our guest speaker. So I'm guessing Dr. Muhammad is still on the call. So do well to turn your camera. I also have to turn mine. Okay. Let's do this while I turn my camera too. Okay. Okay, just some more cameras before I take the snipe. Can we have more people turning their camera? I can only see few persons. Let's have more of the cameras coming up. Okay, I think I'll just take this while we hope that others also. So I'll just take 2 shots. Okay, do me a favor before I take this. Let me just give a little bit of the time. Okay, so in SP Abuja section, we are privileged to be under a very seasoned professional as our section chair. And one of the things he has taught us and he has brought to us is that Abuja SP's section is a section that has culture of excellence. And you can definitely see it from the delivery of this program. So once I say SP, you just do a thumbs up and you utter the words culture of excellence. I hope we got that. So once I say SP, a thumbs up, and then we utter the words culture of excellence. Is that fine? Okay, so let's go. SP.
Culture of excellence.
Okay, thank you very much. I got that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining the session. Our section officers, our distinguished guests, our student affairs chair, thank you so much, too, for this delivery. With this, we've come to the end of the session for today. So I'll just give a little bit of the time for networking. Those of us who might want to network with 1 or 2 persons. The floor is open for that. In like a minute, the meeting will be ended. A minute or 2, yeah.
Well done, Aisha. Congratulations. Let's deliver the other part and the student program. Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your support.
Yeah. Thank you, section chair. Thank you, student affairs chair.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for standing in for us. Well done.
Thank you for joining us. Is she still on call? Okay.
I'm not sure.
Thank you, Akili. Thank you, everyone. Samuel, I see you. Justus, our able flair designer.
Oh, Samuel Ogidi was on the call. Nice.
Justus, how are you?
I see a lot of people from my alumni institution.
Yeah, Chinaza, co-chair.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
student affairs chair. Yeah. And bye, everyone.